Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk about 3 very beneficial foods you can add before your meals to help you effectively manage constipation, bloating, gas. Many people suffer from sluggish bowels, hard stools, and there are some things you can add to your daily routine without changing much else in your diet that can really help with all of this. Stick around until the end because you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you if you suffer from constipation or not. How many days have you gone without a bowel movement? What was your record? A bad record, I know, but how long have you gone like that? Tell me here in the comments. It's really important for us to try healthy, natural alternatives that can help with gut health so we don't have to use laxatives, right? Laxatives often have a quick effect, but they harm the gut flora and make the intestines dependent, so it's not a good idea for us to use them except under the guidance of a doctor or nutritionist for your specific case. Leave a like on the video, it really helps me here on the channel, and share it with anyone you know who needs it. Let's expand our chain of kindness, because that's what I want here with the channel. It's very important for us to understand, after all, why does the intestine get blocked up? Some people suffer from constipation, while others have no problem with it at all. Often it's not just a single reason, unfortunately. Sometimes it's the result of several factors. Sometimes it's too little fiber, not enough water, too much ultra-processed food, a sedentary lifestyle. Low physical activity can affect how the intestine works, stress, hormonal changes, the natural process of aging, and even sometimes some medication we start taking can impact this issue with the intestine. Many people think of the intestine as just a pipe, right? But it's actually a metabolically very active organ, and it depends on hydration, stool volume, muscle contraction, gut microbiota, stool composition, proper nerve stimulation to function properly. So, a lot of things are involved, are affected, and are related to why the intestine might be more sluggish for one person and looser for another. And the longer the stool stays there, the worse it is for you, because the more time water is being drawn out of the stool, being reabsorbed by the intestine itself, and the stool becomes drier, harder, and as a result, it gets harder to eliminate, causing more gas, more discomfort. Sometimes the effort is so great that the person bleeds, so it's a real mess. Ideally, we should avoid going many days without being able to have a bowel movement. That doesn't mean that if you don't have a bowel movement one day, you're someone who suffers from constipation, even if you go every other day. There's no one-size-fits-all solution for this. What matters most to us is the absence of pain, little effort, stools that aren't hard or pellet-like, and the feeling that you've managed to empty your rectum. So I'm going to tell you a few things here that can really help you when you consume them before meals to prevent or even resolve constipation. There's a very interesting natural reflex that happens in our intestines after we eat, called the gastrocolic reflex. When food reaches the stomach, the brain and the intestine interpret it like this. More food is coming in, we need to make room here in the digestive tract, and so they send a signal to stimulate intestinal movements. And that's exactly why some people feel the urge to have a bowel movement right after breakfast, for example. So, depending on what you consume before your meal, you can create a more functional intestinal environment for this reflex to act more effectively. The first food you might consider consuming before your main meal is psyllium. Psyllium is an extremely absorbent soluble fiber, meaning that when it comes into contact with water, it forms a kind of viscous gel, and constipation is often, as I mentioned, related to low stool volume and poor stool hydration. And when the stool becomes very small, dry, and hardened, the intestine tends to move less. Now think of psyllium as acting almost like a sponge, right? Because it absorbs a lot of water, greatly increases the volume, strongly stimulates the intestine, and increases stool volume. And since it absorbs water, it also helps to hydrate. So it helps with these natural peristaltic movements, increases stool volume, and makes a big difference when the stool tends to stay put. So it acts on 2 fronts at the same time, increasing the volume and hydrating the stool. When we talk about this, we have to mention that for psyllium to work, you need to drink plenty of water. So there's no point in adding psyllium before meals if you don't stay well hydrated throughout the day. For psyllium to work properly, it needs to be well hydrated. So, usually just 1 teaspoon works well. It's a small amount of psyllium in a large glass, a full cup of water, around 20 to 30 minutes before your main meal. In addition, it really helps with satiety, hunger, and stabilizing blood sugar levels. So it also supports intestinal health in a very interesting metabolic way. Another food that works very well before lunch or dinner is chia. Chia works in a way similar to psyllium in some aspects and is even more optimized in others because it also forms a gel when hydrated, and it also contains this mucilage, this natural soluble fiber, which also draws water, increases stool hydration, and improves intestinal volume. But it also has a unique characteristic because it combines fiber with healthy fats in the same seed. Chia also contains fat, a precursor to omega-3 and anti-inflammatory fat, and these natural fats help make bowel movements more comfortable. Many people describe their stools as being very dry, and then there's that issue of hurting the intestine, right? The rectum, the final portion. So it's very interesting to be able to moisten the stool in a healthy way. And chia is like this combo, right? Where you get the fiber, the water, since you'll be taking it with water, and the healthy fat. So it's usually very well tolerated and has very good results for people who suffer from intestinal problems, like constipation. To use chia, you can use 1 tablespoon of chia in a glass of water. If you want to use its cousin, flaxseed, that also works. But ideally, you should grind it into a flour before adding it to water, and also take it 20 to 30 minutes before your main meal to already stimulate peristalsis. The third food on our list is olive oil, and many people don't think of it because it doesn't have fiber, right? But it contains a fat that helps stool slide more easily through the intestines. People don't remember about this issue of the gastrocolic reflex and moistening, which I've already explained to you. Chia helps with that. And olive oil is pure fat, so it acts on this as well and also stimulates natural digestive reflexes. It increases bile release, intestinal contractions, the movement of the entire digestive tract. Bile doesn't just take part in fat digestion, it also helps stimulate intestinal movement. So it helps contract the gallbladder, bile is released into the intestine, and then bile stimulates peristalsis, promoting comfortable movement throughout the intestines. So many people who start using olive oil, a tablespoon of olive oil before meals, notice that their stools are less dry and they have an easier time eliminating them, reducing bloating, gas, and improving cases of constipation. You just can't make the mistake of consuming these foods, especially psyllium, chia, or flaxseed, without drinking plenty of water. If you increase your fiber intake but don't increase your water intake, then the opposite effect happens. The fiber will end up clogging things up. So you need to drink plenty of water. And even if you consume olive oil, if you choose olive oil, your stools still need to be hydrated throughout the day. So at least 8 cups of water will help you as well. Another important thing is to keep moving, right? As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the intestines respond very well to movement. So even just walking, going up and down stairs, daily movement, a less sedentary routine, more physical activity, these usually have a good impact on intestinal health and constipation. And remember, if you've been constipated for a long time, have blood in your stool, unexplained weight loss, severe pain, anemia, or changes in your bowel habits, you need to get it checked by a doctor, okay? When constipation comes along with other warning signs like these, we need to see a doctor and check if there's a more serious problem going on. These tips here will help you, but obviously they're based on the assumption that you're already eating well throughout the day, right? Plenty of fiber, healthy fats, fewer ultra-processed foods. I have a playlist here about foods in the gut and foods for healthy digestion. I'll leave it down below in the description for you. Remember to like the video because that really helps me out, and share it with anyone you think will enjoy it or who needs it. Let's grow our chain of kindness. That's what I want on the channel. See you next time. Bye.